Well, it's one of those things that can make our blood boil from time to time. Ticket scalpers, those people making money out of other people's misery. And it's likely to happen a fair bit this year with the Rugby World Cup in town. But while it might actually be illegal, is it quite as immoral and dastardly as we're inclined to believe? Our next guest says no. Economist Dr. Eric Crampton joins us now. Good morning, Dr. Crampton.
Good morning.
You say that scalping is just sort of a natural part of the economic landscape, if you like, in a market economy. Is that right?
It's something that we expect whenever somebody sets a price that's too low, right? So imagine that car dealership said that they're going to have their new Boxing Day sale, and a Mercedes was going to cost $10,000. They had 10 of them up for sale. Would you be at all surprised if somebody bought those and then sold them to somebody else for the $80,000 or $100,000 they usually go for? I wouldn't be surprised.
Not necessarily.
I'd be surprised at people complaining about it. Not
necessarily, but let's bring that back to the World Cup. Are you suggesting too that part of the problem here is that tickets are too cheap?
Part of the problem is that some tickets are too cheap. You would not see this kind of on-selling if the tickets were priced such that it just cleared the market. What I mean by that is if the ticket prices were such that as many people wanted to buy seats as there were seats available, there'd be no scalping. There'd be a few people that would sell tickets if they couldn't get a babysitter or something, but otherwise you wouldn't have people going in trying to buy the tickets low and sell them high. You only get that when prices are set too low. And you got to wonder why they're setting prices too low when the government is already shelling out, what, $500 million on the Rugby World Cup anyways? Why are we throwing money away?
What? So are you just saying just let the market do its course? No intervention at all?
I'm saying that they probably should have set the ticket prices a little higher to start with. And there's no particular need for legislation banning scalping if the Rugby World Cup wants to put conditions on the tickets that you have to show ID at the gate and match it to the name on the ticket. Well, that's really up to them, but I'm not sure why the government needs special legislation to ban it here. For other sorts of concerts, I bought tickets for the Amanda Palmer show the other day. My name's printed on the ticket. I don't know why there would be need for legislation protecting that.
But isn't this an issue of fairness? Because often it's a case of people just can't get their hands on tickets, and there might be people who are a little bit more savvy at getting online, using a faster broadband or just queuing up more. They're getting an advantage and then selling those tickets back to other people who couldn't get those tickets. That seems unfair.
Well, like I told Nico at the National Business Review yesterday, those kinds of people will be getting the tickets anyways. It's whether they're going to sit at the game then or selling them on to somebody who wants to see the game more than they do. I don't see the harm.
But isn't this, it's just that isn't there an issue of fairness here? Isn't there an issue of trying to level the playing field out a little bit?
I think the best argument for setting prices really low for things like sporting events is that you get a more enthusiastic crowd. So say that the only people that showed up were the folks who are willing to pay $1,500 a ticket, and none of them would be willing to stand up and cheer because they're boring people, they're rich folks. So maybe the TV rights would be worth a little bit less if you had a lot of those folks. Some of you might want to have some tickets that sell for a little bit less to get some of the more enthusiastic fans coming in. But if some of those guys do want to on-sell their ticket, I don't know why the government needs to be involved in that.
Don't we need rules, though, around that process? Because as soon as it turns into a scalping issue, it's a Wild West, isn't it?
Well, say that you have the initial price offering for a stock, and somebody buys it at the initial price and then waits till midday and the price has gone up and he sells it. Is that a Wild West thing that we need rules around to prevent?
But there are rules around
what
that.
do we expect?
There's tons of rules around those.
There's tons of rules around
selling.
normal buying and selling, but it's not illegal to make a profit on the stock exchange. I don't know why it should be illegal to make a profit on selling a sports ticket.
What's the practice elsewhere? I mean, how does the US deal with this? I've seen some people suggest they have a sort of a sanctioned way of dealing with scalping tickets.
Well, the US has evolved a fair bit. In concerts, it used to be the case that concert promoters would sell concert tickets really low because they're expecting that to be sort of a lost leader for CD sales, right? That's changed a lot with piracy, so now they're trying to make the money on the concert. So you don't really see concert ticket scalping anymore because concert promoters have gone and actually charged proper prices for their tickets. And you also have had the ticket vendors matching up with some secondary markets like StubHub so that they can recoup some of the profits that otherwise would be going to scalpers. The real tragedy here, from my perspective, isn't that somebody who otherwise would be willing to pay $400 for a ticket, can't get it because the scalpers are selling them all at $1,000. It's that I'm on the hook as a taxpayer for part of this $500 million for the Rugby World Cup. I've got no intention of seeing any of the games. It's a big transfer from people who really aren't that interested in rugby to people who love rugby. I worry less about the normative effects of within rugby fans who gets the tickets and more about this great, big, inefficient transfer that we're having to promote the Rugby World Cup.
Just on that though, but isn't the argument there that the Rugby World Cup, yes, it's obviously rugby fans are going to be the ones wanting the tickets, but the whole country will benefit, hopefully, in an economic sense from this event?
That's nonsense.
You don't believe it will?
The economic studies on this are, you'll get commissioned reports that will purport to have really big economic benefits for the country as a whole, and those are almost invariably terrible. The vast consensus of the academic economic literature is that subsidizing stadiums and events is massively wasteful. It's very good work done in the States looking at things like baseball strike. When a baseball strike happens, you'd expect, well, if baseball brings so many benefits to a city, you should be able to see really big problems in cities that have big baseball teams if the baseball strike. Doesn't happen. When spring training gets cancelled, very minor effects in spring training towns.
Dr. Eric Crampton, that's a very interesting view. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Thank you.
There you go.
It is an interesting topic, isn't it? Because
It's not going to have any economic benefit at all, according to the economists.
Yeah, and there are arguments for that.
There are. He's not the only person to make that argument. I have heard it from other economists as well.
Individual tourist operators and that kind of thing, they're going to notice a difference.
They are. Retailers will feel a bit of a boom.
It's going to be huge publicity and promotion. Is the country simply paying for awesome international PR?
But I suppose you can't quantify that, but we are paying a lot to hold this cup.
We're paying a lot.
It's a very interesting idea, and some interesting ideas that he raised there.